Videos can concern a photo and all of the other photos taken that day. If anybody's not aware of it, on my YouTube channel, I debunk conspiracy theories, UFO videos, people claiming the Earth isn't round, that sort of thing, by pointing out that people are able to prove a point that is never true by omitting data. Lying by omission is still lying. 1941, April 13th is the probable date. U.S. Farm Security Administration, Edwin, Rosskam. That means if it was done by a U.S. government employee for a U.S. government subsection, it's public domain. Anybody charging any money for any of these images has to provide some sort of value-added service. They can't claim they own it, nor can someone re-age it or recopyright it or pull it out of public domain. Photos of children lining up for Easter Sunday matinee at the South Side Regal Theater that was located at 4719 South Parkway, Chicago, Illinois, that opened in 1928 and was torn down in 1973. Okay. Now, this is off a website that decided that Album Online to throw a bunch of watermarks on things. Not all of them do this. I object to this, but let's move on, okay? This is another image without a watermark. These are either JPEG or WebM. Something Henry, somebody Cooper, blah, 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 and let's go back one notch. Life with Henry, etc. Very gonzo images here. But that one and that one match. And we see kids wearing grown-up looking clothing. That was what people used to do. They dressed their kids like they wanted them to look when they were grown-ups. Times were different. Let's move on. This is where you'd go in and pay for the tickets to go in. Lady back there. This guy's out front. He's got a walking stick. And we see some faces. Now, what's funny is I'm going to give you links to every one of these images, every one that I can find, and hopefully they'll still be there. And we're going to have a Where's Waldo moment in a minute. Now, I want you to notice that some of these kids are dressed in a way that's very distinctive, like this young lady here, this girl with her handbag. I want to go back a notch. Some of the hats, by the way, hats were a very primary way for people to differentiate themselves. Individuality would be shown by how you bent your hat brim. This is bent down. He probably experienced, if you're not aware of it, I have some knowledge on this. That's a wider brim hat band. Having it tipped down like that is because of exposure to light. He might be light sensitive, or the hat might only fit in such a way that that would be the only way to block his eyes, as you can see from the shadow. This kid had it pulled up like this. I used to call this the water scoop method. When I wore a hat like this, that's what it was for. It kept me from getting rain on my head. Let's move forward. Now, this young lady, by the way, is staring right at the camera. Several of them do it. Some of them give dirty looks to the cameraman or camera operator. And we're going to zoom back in, and you'll notice, I'm going to bring it back here. Okay. Let's go through again. How many of those kids are in that screen, in that frame? Someone took these photos rapid fire style, and I don't know if you noticed it, but some of these things look really similar, like this brickwork, but they're from different sides of the same chunk of space. This is an old school theater. But do you see anybody you recognize? Now, what's funny is I can see in a couple of the images here, people we're going to see later. Here we go. Again, the hats are more individualized. That kid there, look at that one. Back up. Yeah, she's right there. That's her right there. So you can see her just by her hat. Hi. Whoever you are, I hope you're still alive. Maybe you'll tell us about what it was like that day. Here we go with these images. Oh yeah, that's supposed to be a kid holding an iPad. Yeah, I know that's what you're looking for, so I'll put it in the title. Obviously, it's not. It's a portfolio or a valise or a notebook or a picture book Or it could be a scrapbook. It could be anything. I just find it interesting that, if you're not aware of it, a majority of them are all well-dressed kids. Let's move forward. Yeah, this is the image we couldn't find. This is from a different angle. This image I could only find one place. Now, these are photos that were taken by a single photographer. And they're part of public domain and they're stuffed someplace. But I want you to notice something. These are sprocket holes down here. This might be a negative. It's not as good a quality, but this is a picture that came before this image here. I don't know how to do anything about it. It's only available on Flickr through one person who posted it 2013 or something. Okay? All of these should be stored someplace. Most of them will be. But let's look at the order of operations. Do we see these two kids here? Oh, there they are right there. And this one with the hat, that big flop hat, right there. And the headband here. There she is. So he was with these guys, and they're all kind of crunched together. Now we zoom in on this. This is one of the better images. I'm going to be zooming in a lot more on it because I can get away with it. And now some of you are going to start recognizing them like you would, somebody you've met. You get really familiar with images when you have to dig through them. So if you can't tell, this is how big this is. This had lots of openings. This is the one that was in, well, let's just go back. This here, we can see this and this at these angles, right? And there he is, and then go back, and we get that and that. The Aldrich family, Life with Henry, Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, James Stewart in a movie here, and we see that this has this kind of triangle pattern here. And there it is again, just very hard to see. And we can kind of see it right here, but it's really right here. Now, this is when it's really full, and they're all over the place. Okay? So, can we see any of the distinctive hats or whatever? That's literally a Where's Waldo for the rest of you, right? Except, yeah, I can recognize one of them. But let's move on. This is again, it's a website that puts their watermark on everything, and I object to it. And this appears to be, we would call it Photoshop these days, but image enhanced. I'd like to think some of them are still alive. Probably wondering, why are you looking at pictures of me and freaking out? So anyway, that's where the photo was pointed at. That's where the camera work was done. But you'll notice there's a lot of them out here. There was multiple entrances and such. This is the main causeway, and then these are the side entries. Here we see a much better, cleaner version of this image here, showing where you'd buy your tickets. And these are the floodgates for when you end the movie. And that's an image where we see this guy with the walking stick from previously. Now, this is a website that has the image from the Regal Theater, Savoy Ballroom, etc. Now I'm going to hit the max screen. Excuse me, I need to. Yeah. Okay, now let's go over here. Some pictures you will probably... Yeah, this is a dynamic one we can drag around. Sewell and Sons, real estate was next door, and there's this kid waving. Scroll over this way. I recognize two of those. Over here. This girl here has the more curly Q hair, and boom. These two kids are in half the photos. Okay, and if you look, that's about, they're going past it. There's that kid waving kind of at the camera. A lot of them are looking at the camera. So, did any of you see the supposed image of the kid with the laptop? Let's move on. Here's an equivalent to it. This is in much, well, it's a really frenetic interface, but it does work. Ever see the kid waving? Yes, very high resolution indeed, isn't it? Amazing how old photos from a long time ago are so useful. Maybe she's holding the line, keeping someone from getting past her. As you can see, what happened is the photographer, yes, those two kids right there had almost identical hats. The photographer went out of his way to get their attention because at that point, if you look at the camera, it's implied consent that you're okay with being photographed. People would worry about that at the time, and it was considered a good idea just for general purposes to warn someone you're taking a photo. Say cheese! You yell that, and you wait like 5 beats, and then take the photo. Preferably with a flash or something going on just beforehand, so people can decide to turn away. That guy does not look happy about getting a photo taken of him. But yeah, there we are. And that was in front of the Regal. And this is the Reddit version of it that's so good. So yeah, about half, actually over half of the kids I saw in the images, I'm able to see in here because I've spent the last 20, 30 minutes trying to figure out, what theater it was. And then suddenly I get this one and like, oh, it's the freaking Regal. It's right there. So now I'm going to have a little bit of a rant, besides the part about how people shouldn't be trying to recopyright for their own purposes images that were obviously done by another photographer that were at the time probably, not necessarily, but probably released public domain pretty much immediately after they were published. All right? But you have all these kids dressed up primarily looking like their mom and pa, and they're all going to theater. But then again, everybody walking up and down the streets dressed the same. Not really formal wear. 1941, April 13th, at the South Side Regal Theater at 4119 South Parkway, Chicago, Illinois. It's now Martin Luther King Road or something. Opened in 1928, was torn down in 1973, and on that day, Edwin Rosskam, for some government agency, could have been any agency, took photos of kids lined up for the Easter Sunday matinee. And that's it. And now we get to play Where's Waldo and see if we can find the kid. Now, do I believe that this is signs of time travel or whatever? Absolutely not. I've held a photo album or a photo holder, or more accurately, I held a document holder that was about the same size and shape, and that thing had the peculiarity of it being used to hold a graduation certificate from getting out of grade school. I had one. A lot of people got one of those. Some people might make fun of them, but I had one of those at one time. And, yeah, this guy looks a little ticked off at the cameraman. But hey, if you don't like the getting photographed, turn away. You'll blend right in. But we have lots of style going on, first of all. Second, look for the hats. Next, the kid holding the pad, we'll call it, is not as distinctive as the others, except, well, do you see him? He's staring right at you.